Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the feature race at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. We're going 2 miles in race number 11. That means only one thing. It's got to be the 8-challenge Jerkens Stakes on turf. Let's take a look at the field. 2 miles didn't scare away anybody. We got 11 in here. We got full brothers, half brothers, the Gray Wizard and the Ginger Wizard. We got a couple of Lords, and we got a pretty competitive group.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised that they got this big a field for the race, Dan. But a bunch of horses are going to take their shot going long here. And as far as I can tell, and maybe you agree, maybe not, I don't know, the Gray Wizard is way the horse to beat.
He's certainly the horse to beat. He's become one of the better, truly long distance turf horses in the country. Maybe not a grade 1 type going a mile and a half, but you get a little further than that with him against grade 2, grade 3 listed stakes company. He is very, very tough. Let's throw up our Timeform US pace projector. Take the Timeform US pace projector for what it is in a 2-mile race, but Prevent has speed. Dean Martini has speed. Those two horses are likely to be going to the front, but how fast they go, anyone's guess, probably slow.
Yeah, you don't expect them to be up there dueling, but they do look like the two horses with speed.
Dean Martini, the number one's a pretty honest horse. He won the Ohio Derby back in the day, and then it was a long time between drinks. They shipped him over to Laurel. He got washed off. It was the best thing that ever happened to him. In the Japan Turf Cup, where he was just able to get to the front and wire that field. He's one of several horses in this race that chased the Gray Wizard last time out in the John Forbes at Far Hills. That's a race where they have no starting gate. It's basically a steeplechase without jumps.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to be too hard on him for that performance. He did a little chasing in there and didn't actually run that well. But his turf form prior to that, I hear what you're saying. Getting rained off was good for him too, back because he does handle dirt. But this horse's turf form has been fine since they've made the switch. And he showed in the San Juan Capistrano a couple years ago that he can go longer distance, beating less than a length that day. So I guess there are some things to like about this horse.
California Frolic, the number 2, a horse that didn't run well at Far Hills last time out. But again, I'll treat that race like a Kentucky Downs race. The start 2 back at Monmouth was okay, worked out a decent enough tracking trip, 3 wide bid on the third turn, and was able to grind out the victory. Distance is pretty good for this horse. He does have some tactical speed and a couple of back figures that would make him interesting.
Yeah, he got the mile and a half, 2 starts back. So I guess that was a good thing for him. His prior races, when they tried to stretch him out, didn't actually go that well. But he showed that he can get at least a mile and a half, 2 starts back. That doesn't really mean that he's going to get the 2 miles, Dan, and he's going to have to do that against a better field here.
The 3 is really good, who picked up some pieces going 2 miles in the Belmont Gold Cup, 3 starts back. Last time out just was wired in a very slow-paced race. I think the pace worked against him that day. But what was the excuse 2 back against the Gray Wizard? I couldn't find one.
Yeah, he didn't run that well in that spot. That's for sure. But his Belmont Gold Cup was pretty good, I thought. And then, last time, another race where he just got wired in one of those races at Aqueduct where nobody goes, a horse makes the lead in there, and then nothing really happens behind him. I don't know. Obviously, this horse is no star, but I've always just sort of had the impression of him that longer distances were really going to be good for this horse. And I think getting back out to 2 miles could actually help this horse.
Distance is a little bit of a question mark for the 4 Prevent, who does have good early speed and showed it in his most recent race. It was the Showing Up Stakes, and he made the lead, and he was able to back down the pace, I thought, a little bit on the backstretch, and then he simply got tired. So there are some class concerns, but mostly it's distance.
Yeah, it really is. There really are big distance concerns here. I mean, it's just so hard to stretch out to 2 miles. You never know, who's going to really like it and who's not. This horse is probably going to be forward in here, but his stamina is really going to be tested in this race.
Distance is no issue for Lord Flincher. That's the number 5. And it looks like he's in good form, maybe even in career best form. He came off the bench last time out at Saratoga. He won a little starter allowance race, but did so comfortably. And then he ran 3rd in that Far Hills race. He still needs to prove to me that he's this level of horse. But again, distance is okay, good form, respect this barn.
Yeah, I wonder. I'll admit I spent a couple of seconds there deciding whether I need to reevaluate this horse just off of his past 2 races, which are both pretty good. I mean, he's been around forever. He spent a lot of time in New York running really good races and never winning. Maybe this is what he really wants to do, Dan, get out to these 2-mile races and it'll help him. I'm still not betting him in here, but his last 2 races are good.
Distance and class questions for the 6. Lord Eddard Stark, who comes off a race where he chased a graded stakes winner in Bapio, came back to run 2nd in an allowance on the synthetic with an 88 Beyer speed figure. This is a horse that was consistent earlier this year, but against weaker company at shorter distances.
Yeah, just not really getting it done either for the most part against, some weaker horses, Dan. When he did get that win back in May, that was a really fast-paced race going a mile that he sat off and rallied into it. I don't think he's getting that kind of a setup here, and who knows about 2 miles for him.
Todd Pletcher put blinkers back on the number 7, 6 minus. He's won with blinkers before in his career. He's coming off a good performance in an allowance race. Let's watch 6 minus at Keeneland, going a mile and a half on good ground. He has some work to do in the stretch, but he's going to make up ground and make this relatively close in the wire. The 5th place finisher came back, ran second in a second level allowance at Churchill with a 90 buyer.
This is an okay performance. He does make up later. It's worth noting he has Lasix back on for this, which he has to take off again. Listen, he runs well in here, Dan, but it's at least worth noting that he was favored in this race and he didn't get the job done. The distance, I think the one thing that you would like about 6 minus is the distance is really no issue for this. He's gone 2 miles in the past. He's run really well going along.
Utah Beach really found himself when they stretched him out to a mile and a half earlier in the year. He's now making his 3rd start off of a short layoff. He's coming out of his race at the Sycamore where the pace was just very, very fast early, and he was able to save ground near the back for most of the way. But when he tried to split horses at about the 5/16s, he had to be taken up a little bit. And then when they turn into the stretch, Utah Beach is still sort of in between horses and over and behind. All in all, he ran well. I don't think he would have won with a perfect trip, but these are some decent horses he's in against, and the 5th place finisher came back and placed to Churchill with a 96 buyer.
I thought he ran pretty well in here too, and that comes off of a return race off the layoff at Aqueduct, where he just got into a really slow-paced race against a good field and couldn't make an impact. Prior to that, in the Louisville, another race, they just went slow up front. Nobody could make up any ground in there. This horse had won his 2 starts prior to that, Dan. He's dirtied up on the way into this one.
The Gray Wizard already has 2 prior wins at 2-mile races. He looked good in the Belmont Gold Cup, rallying from way out of it to score. He had a nice trip and was just way too good for those horses at Delaware Park. And listen, I don't think he cared for the Kentucky Downs configuration. I thought that Frankie gave the winner a beautiful ride on the lead that day. And then last time out in the John Forbes, listen, he was just better than those horses. He handled the quirky ground. He's simply the horse to beat.
Yeah, he's a horse who's supposed to be a really, really short price in this race, Dan, just based on his overall form. The 2 miles is no issue for him, and he's really good.
Eldest son, the number 10, reclaimed by a sharp one in Nolan Ramsey, and now they're going to stretch him all the way out. Sort of reminiscent of the Michael Maker moves, and Nolan was an assistant, I believe, for Michael Maker for a little while. Eldest son has the body type to get 2 miles. He's a big, strapping, strong individual. The question is whether he's good enough. I thought his race 2 starts back was okay. It was a race that produced 3 next out winners, but he had his chance in the stretch that day, and he was very, very green.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do here, getting out to 2 miles for the first time, because that's really the issue. The question he's going to have to answer here, Dan. This is that turf race that you're talking about, 2 starts back. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he's just horse who's been crying out for more distance, just based on the races he's run so far. It seems unlikely that he's going to be able to beat this field unless he just loves 2 miles.
Yeah, we see him changing back and forth on his leads 3, 4 times in the stretch. But this is a good trainer, and he's a solid enough horse with decent form, but he's going to have to improve from a speed figure standpoint. The Ginger Wizard is very interesting, simply because he's the Gray Wizard's younger half-sibling, and that Graham Motion decided, hey, I've had good luck with the Gray Wizard. Let's get this guy after he scored going a mile and a half, 2 back overseas. They ran him at Keeneland. He probably was a little bit too short for him.
Yeah, it seemed like that was probably too short for him. And you just sort of suspect, since Motion handles his brother, that they were just giving him a race to stretch him back out for his next start. He was really progressed. I like the way he progressed early this year over there, Dan, up until that maiden win, where you don't win races any easier than that. He smashed that field.
And the horse that beat him last time is pretty good. He came back, ran second in a second level allowance with a 91 buyer at Churchill. The Ginger Wizard should improve with that race under his girth. Let's take a look at our top selections. The Gray Wizard is simply the horse to beat at Gulfstream. Utah Beach interests me. I think he has a little bit of upside. It's all about getting a trip for a horse like this, even in a 2-mile race, because it's not like he has a ton of speed.
Yeah, I got that horse in there too, because I do think he's a little dirtied up, Dan, but I'm not betting against the favorite.
Gray Wizard, the horse to beat in the 2-mile HL and Jerkens. He's a specialist at 2 miles. Who would have thunk it? 9-3-8-11. I'll go 8-9-2-1. It's the Jerkens at Gulfstream on Saturday. Good luck.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy. the great DRF.com Race of the Days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.